An unfortunate prince bearing an unknown crest is exiled to an uninhabited rocky reef in the middle of the sea. But with his hidden mining skills, he unearths many precious rocks and stones, turns the desolate cave into heaven, with the help of his goblin friends, and manages to form a little kingdom of his own, with all facilities including warfare to ward off all underground and outside threats. In the faraway kingdom of Sandfales, the king announces that the 17th prince, Heal, will be awarded his own dominion on his 15th birthday, as he has become an adult. Since Heal is respectfully kneeling and bowing in front of the king, nobody can see his anguished face when he hears the name of the land that he is bound to heal. Soon he is off to his destination, on a journey through treacherous waters. His destination is called Exile Reef, which looks more like a big rock, and is 10 days away from the royal capital by boat. Exile Reef is such a remote island that even pirates won't go near it, let alone the merchants. As the royal ship sets him on a boat, the guards are not at all concerned about whether Heal will land at his destination safely, so now the poor lad is on his own. Still, Heal is about to have a nervous breakdown since he is unable to spot a beach on the island. Earlier, everyone, including his own siblings, was laughing at him when he was awarded such a questionable dominion. The 11th Prince Vaspal and the 9th Princess Thalia secretly smirk at him when they hear Heal has been awarded Exile Reef. Now, Heal does possess incompetent abilities, but the reason why everyone scorns him is because of the illegible crest he has been born with. Now, all princes are born with crests, and Heal's brothers have enviable ones like Sword God and King of Magic, and thus the powers those names suggest have been bestowed upon them respectively. Now, since no one can figure out about Heal's crest, no matter how much he tries, like practicing playing with swords or studying complex magic spells, he is unable to reach the true meaning of his crest. His father and his brothers resent him for bringing shame to the royal family. So when the King of Sandfales awarded him with the responsibility, Heal protested that a representative could be sent to govern that reef. The king wrathfully roars that this assignment is the word of the oracle, so in other words, Heal is being exiled from the kingdom. At present, while battling the horrific waves, Heal cannot help thinking that it would have been better to be executed for betrayal, rather than expelled to an uninhabited mountain of rocks. Still, he thinks it is too soon to die. When he reaches close to the reef, he resolves to slow down so that he doesn't smash into the rocks. For this purpose, he uses the wind spell to produce a strong gust of wind. But instead, he manages to produce a meager puff of gas that manages to pluck a few feathers from the seagulls flying nearby. This proves his incompetency in using magic spells, but he decides to worry about that later, as his priority is to get his supplies safely to the island. While carrying his stuff, he spots a mysterious cave in the middle part of the reef. Heal curiously peeks into the cave when he catches a blood-curdling and bone-chilling view of a heap of skeletons and bones, pitiably strewn on the cave floor. From the expressions engraved on those skulls, it can be deduced that the poor beings died of agony and distress. Now, Heal has nowhere else to go, so he brings in his supplies in that cave, perches on one of the chests, and stares miserably at the icy cold water gushing ferociously in front of him. He admits that although the scenery is beautiful and far away from all the hustle in the capital, the situation is quite different now. He hides his face and screams in sheer agitation, but vows that he is going to survive no matter what. Then he begins a series of speculations and actions he has to perform. For instance, if a ship passes by, he must ask them for help. Now he knows that the ship cannot belong to his country, so he is left with no options, that the ship might be belonging to a foreign country, or worse, a pirate ship. He shudders at the idea that at best he might become a slave. Also, he figures out that there are no merchant routes around here in the first place, and also the reef is too far from the land for anyone to be coming to fish here. Then, he checks out the supplies and predicts that they will last a month at best. Also, he is aware of his pathetic magical skills, so he needs to store rainwater in barrels and use fishing skills. Additionally, he needs to clean up the cave and get rid of those eerie skeletons and bones to make that cave habitable. He rummages through his toolbox and finds a mining tool to perform the digging task. Suddenly, a notification appears that he has acquired a mining tool. A baffled Heal looks here and there, as it seems that a voice message has been sent to his head. Heal silently requests the reputation of the message, and the voice message is replayed in his mind, giving him an option to mine. It is revealed that Heal has a crest called Cave King, and it has an advisor function. Also, the crest he has is not of any living thing. Heal is puzzled as to why all of a sudden his hidden crest became so apparent. Then he realizes that all the life he has been living in a royal palace and has never neared a cave. The inner voice keeps on rambling to heal irritation that the Crest Cave King not only has an advisor function, but also boosts mining skills and supports. But an impatient heel shuts off the tedious instructions and wants to get into real action. He wonders what will happen if he chooses to mine. Now he is really confused, but wants to check out what will happen if he chooses to mine. It seems as if that cryptic inner voice has read his mind, and now begins to optimize mining. To his astonishment, some sparkling spots appear in front of him on the cave's wall. The inner voice mentions that those shining parts indicate they are the most suitable spots for mining. This is calculated because not only those spots are easier to break, but also prevent cave-ins. As he strikes at one spot with his mining tool, all it takes is a single light blow, and a big chunk of cave wall comes out easily, just like the inner voice or advisor mentioned. One more peculiar thing is that the cave is all brightly lit up, and wonders whether this is one of the support effects. The advisor points out that the night vision effect has been enabled. Next, Heel begins to make room for himself to sleep, so he starts smashing, banging, and cracking the wall, and since it's not taking a mountain of his effort, he is actually enjoying the whole process. It appears that he has managed to delve into the cave much deeper and ponders whether the amount he can dig at once is increasing as the rocks are getting bigger too. The advisor affirms that the amount he can dig increases as his mining skills rank up. Suddenly the advisor pops up a message that now it is time to retrieve 168 rocks. The message baffles Heel, so the advisor explains that the Crest Cave King allows him to store whatever he mines, no matter the quantity. So, when Heel wonders about the location of retrieval, there is silence from that side. Soon, he begins to dig deeper and deeper when the advisor mentions that the whole retrieval process won't have any effect on his body, and the rocks can be taken out at any time. In no time, Heel's eyes begin to dazzle at the sight of those glittery precious rocks. Immediately those are retrieved, and an inventory has been built. Heel's adrenaline begins to shoot up on that bounty dig up, and now he is keen to reach the other side of the cave as soon as possible. He begins to dig as fast as he can. The advisor notifies him that he is 10 meters down from where he started. The young lad seems to be from the Stone Age, as he has never heard of the term meter before. As time passes, before he actually knows it, he has all kinds of interesting stuff stored in the inventory. Stuff like copper, bronze, silver, coal, sapphire, etc. He is astounded to find that he has even struck gold. Not that the gold will do any good to him on an uninhabited island. Suddenly, he notices an uncanny magic stone that he has never heard about. The advisor activates its mining field guide and displays information on magic stone. It increases the magic power of a user. The bigger the stone, the greater the boost. Heel is elated that finally his poor magic skills can be easily enhanced, and regrets the time he fretted about them. Next, he wonders about the turtle stone. Instantly, the advisor displays information regarding that stone, that using it increases lifespan by 1 day. Heel is delighted as still. He doesn't have the faintest clue about what the Cave King actually does, but finally, he realizes the amazing capability of his crest. And also this Sheol reef turns out to be an incredible domain. It seems as if the two pieces of a puzzle fit perfectly, although by coincidence. Heel is all powered up as he keeps on digging and delving, and in all his endeavors, he completely forgets about the ships rescuing him. Soon he reaches 30 meters in no time, and adds the precious ruby, sapphire, and gold to his prized inventory, but the quantity of each is less than 1, so they are displayed in the inventory as decimals. However, Heel is mostly concerned with magic stones and turtle stones, as the inventory displays their numbers in terms of their respective uses. For instance, a magic stone can be used 90 times now, while a turtle stone can be used to increase 6 days in one's life. Heel is hopeful that by using magic stone, he can use more advanced magic. He decides to consume 90 magic stones and then thrusts to pump up his non-existent muscles to get that powerful feeling. So he sheepishly questions the advisor whether the magic stones have been consumed. The latter affirms, so Heel wonders whether he will undergo bodily changes after consuming all that magic power. The advisor is not all programmed to answer that comical question, so he decides to use his magical skills by cleaning up the path he has dug. He thrusts his hand forward and uses the wind magic spell. In no time, a powerful gust of wind in the form of a tornado appears and immediately swipes away all the rubble, the skeletons, and dirt away from the cave. It seems as if some kind of clandestine threshold is using some suction power to attract all the useless stuff toward itself. Heel is astounded, as he cannot believe that it was actually him who used magic so strongly. He didn't have the idea that the 90 magic stones would power him so much. Suddenly, something slippery and bouncy bobs on the cave floor and then hits his cheek. Suddenly, a huge bouncing ball of jello having 2 cute little eyes catches him off guard and then stares at him intently. Soon 3 days have passed since Heel was exiled from the kingdom Sandfales and came to Sheol Reef. On another fresh day, he checks for all his supplies to begin with a new digging spree. However, this time he has a new companion named Shell, who is the same glob of jello or slime that he found 3 days ago. Shell helps him transmute to the deeper end of the cave by offering Heel a bouncy ride. Earlier, when he found Shell for the first time, he immediately recognized it to be a slime, since he had already read about them. He wondered whether Shell jumped out in fraught due to the intense wind magic. Suddenly, the advisor notified him that a tameable monster had been discovered. A startled Heel knew that tame is a skill that makes monsters follow one, but he had never seen the skill being used earlier. The tame skill doesn't work on hostile monsters, and Heel's kingdom hated monsters anyway, as there was a popular search and kill operation against monsters prevailing in the kingdom before. However, he could always use the taming skill on the slime, since there was no one present at that time to judge him. In order to complete the taming process, Heel named the slime Shell since it is connected to Sheol Reef. Now, there is a big language barrier since slimes don't understand human language, but still having another living being beside him makes Heel a lot relieved. But he actually underestimated Shell's smartness, as once Shell transformed into an elongated cuboid stool, just to give Heel a much needed boost to reach the upward wall of the cave. Heel realizes that he can use gestures to explain to Shell about his needs, like how much and to what size it must transform, and also about moving rapidly from one place to another. Thanks to that, his mining began to gain rapid progress, and in the last 3 days the amount of things he has dug has tripled. Also, he has used up to 500 magic stones already. With his powered-up magic, food is abundant as he can easily fish and purify seawater. Not only that, he has managed to sleep comfortably with the help of Shell acting as his gel pad pillow. Heel found 10 more slimes while mining, and to be honest, he is unable to communicate with them, as not all are smart like Shell. But as long as they do not come in his way of mining, he doesn't mind a fun and frenzy bounce along jello party. One morning, Heel wakes up Shell bouncing wildly, signaling to something important. A curious Heel looks downward towards the lower part of the reef submerged in seawater and figures out some creatures being washed ashore. He instantly mounts the shell board and glides rapidly towards the fringe. As he approaches those creatures lying lifeless and fully drenched in cold water, he notices that those creatures are green goblins, and their boat crashed into the rocks. Suddenly, the larger of the trio begins to fidget and tremble, showing signs of vitality. A wave of panic strikes Heel, as generally there is an innate animosity between humans and goblins. Most humans are taught to kill goblins at first sight, and vice versa. But Heel's fear is overpowered by compassion, as he simply cannot let those unfortunate creatures die like that. Soon he uses the powerful recovery spell, and then transports them one by one to the upper and drier region of the reef. Next, he covers their bodies with comfortable sheets and gives them a satisfied look, since now they are out of danger. As he drifts off, leaving them in their rest mode, he puts Shell on guard to check at intervals whether those 3 creatures are improving or not. Heel is still skeptical about his decision to save those goblins, because out of natural urge, those can attack him anytime. But then he reminds himself that now he can always use medium magic and will be okay. To ward away his anxiety, he decides to mine to relax. Soon, he begins to dig to reveal more of the reef's bounties. Heel just enjoys mining, as it makes him forget about all his worries. He gets that sense of euphoria the moment he checks out his inventory getting filled with all the goodies. Heel discovers that 2 new kinds of rocks have been added. One is a shining stone, the one that never loses its brilliance. The other one is the Misogi stone, which lifts all sorts of curses when used. However, to Heel, both are of the least importance, as he already has a night vision capability, and no one has cursed him up till now. But still, finding new stuff gives him that thrill, and that makes him go on around the clock. Suddenly, Shell appears in front of him, and Heel guesses that the goblins might be awake from their slumber. As he approaches them, he hears them bickering, and finds out that one of them is a princess, who is refraining from another one who is a general from stealing other people's food. The third goblin agrees with the princess and wants the general to discuss the matter with the owner first. Suddenly, the 3 goblins hear some footsteps, and the tall and burly one called General begins to yell hysterically at the rapidly approaching enemy. When Heel gets close to him, the general begins to wave his steel dagger at him frantically. The petite female goblin tries to stop him from attacking Heal, as that kind soul saved their lives. However, the general still thinks of him as their enemy. Heal is baffled to find out that the three goblins are speaking the same language as his, and wonders whether they belong to the Beldan continent as well. Still, he assures them that he is not planning to do something wicked to them. However, the wary general is not ready to trust a human, as he feels that Heal is planning something sinister. Heal is thoroughly amused, because he senses that those goblins are intimidated by him. The general is flustered when he sees that wacky expression on Heal's face, and guesses that the dreaded human is laughing at them. His expression is so alarming that even Shell is bewildered for a moment. On a closer look, Heal appears like some witty masked villain in a DC comic. When Heal notices the frightened faces around him, he immediately returns to his normal self as lately. He has become so much engrossed in digging that has made him somewhat less human. He then remembers his manners and offers his guests to have all the food they want. Suddenly, he uses a sharp bolt of lightning along with a powerful wind magic spell, and in time manages to serve air-fried fish in a jiff to his guests. The general is taken aback, as if the human was capable of using such powerful magic, then how come he didn't kill them before? The frail princess reprimands the general for judging people quickly, but before she can finish her words, she passes out. The general and another goblin rush towards her, anxiously trying to bring her back to consciousness. Heal wonders whether the poor princess hasn't been healed completely. The other goblin gloomily mentions that the princess has been endorsed with a life-shrinking curse, and it might be the time of her end is near. Both the general and the other goblins weep fretfully, as they cannot let their beloved princess die alone, and face the wrath of their ancestors in the other world. Heal dreadfully figures out that there will be a mass suicide soon, so he frantically puts a halt to it by proposing a cure for that curse. The general is skeptical, because they have already tried everything to cure the princess, but Heal has the Misogi stone for the answer. However, he hasn't tried the stone before. Soon he uses Misogi stone to lift the curse, and also uses 79 turtle stones to increase her lifespan. When all the princess is blasted with the powers of those miracle stones, there is a blinding flash of light everywhere that startles both the other goblins. Delightfully, the princess regains consciousness and is all hale and hearty. Out of the blue, both the general and the other goblin bows in front of their princess's savior, apologizing for their previous behaviors. However, a kind-hearted Heal offers them to eat something, as they still have to introduce themselves to each other. However, the hysterical general smashes his head on the rocky floor and literally scares off Heal, as he feels goblins are creepy creatures. The general rubs his coconut-like head and introduces himself as General Al from the Beldan tribe. The princess introduces herself as Rai, the daughter of Rodden, the king of the Beldan tribe. Finally, the third goblin introduces himself as Vari, the shaman of the Beldan tribe. Next, Heal also introduces himself as the 17th prince of Sanfael's kingdom. Al nods understandably that since Heal is a prince, that's why he is able to use all that magic. However, Heal humbly mentions that this is because of stones he dug up during his mining sprees. Next, Heal wonders why those three were stranded like that. Al gloomily mentions that their village was burnt down by the orcs. Almost all of the royal family was destroyed, and only Princess Rai survived that attack. They have been looking for a new place to live for the past year, but no other clan would take them, and humans chased them away. They and some other survivors headed towards the new world, but then got separated midway due to the rundown ship. Vari wonders whether the others survived or not. It seems as if Vari is not pleased with Al's decision to board that ship, but Rai reasons that Al's decision was not to be blamed, since if they stayed on land, then their fate would have been more or less the same. Vari affirms in distress. The princess then expresses her gratitude to Heal for saving monsters like them. Rai has no idea that Heal has seen far more brutal monsters in the form of humans before. The princess does not expect her longevity, but still is grateful that the pain in her chest is gone, and she is just happy being able to die peacefully. However, Heal is optimistic that it is very soon to give up that easily, as there are still many turtle stones lying dormant underground. He assures her that they can always extend her life as much as they want, as long as they have these. Heal calculates that if he keeps on digging like this, then at that rate, he can buy her a year. Both Vari and Al give each other an astounded stare and request Heal if he would allow them to dig as well. When Heal agrees readily, Rai wonders why he is giving up something so precious easily. Heal convinces her that digging has become his favorite hobby, and he does that because right now he is all alone. Princess Rai breaks into tears of gratitude, bows her head, and expresses her deepest thanks to the kindest man she has ever known. Poor Heel gets baffled by such an emotional power show. Still, he checks out the possibility that he has extra ice axes, but if Al and Vari dig somewhere else, they might have a cave-in. The long-forgotten advisor pops in and mentions that it is possible to grant blessings with a part of Heel's effects to monsters he tames. The extra effects he will be getting are improved mining skills, the experience will be increased, and optimized mining. He discusses the prospects with Al and Vari while having roasted fish if they would let him tame them, just so that they can dig together. However, they have been given the liberty to refuse the offer, and Heel can always dig up all the turtle stones and provide them. However, both Al and Vari readily offer themselves to serve Heel, just for the sake of Princess's life. To Vari and Al's horror, Princess Rai intervenes and wants to serve Heel as well, as she doesn't want to sit back and watch everyone serve her. Also, she wants to pay back the debt to Mr. Heel somehow. Rai is adamant about getting tamed and being renamed, so Heel assures both the goblins that Rai can stop whenever she wants to. Soon, the advisor points out that tameable monsters have been found, so whether Heel wants to tame them. Firstly, El is trained and renamed to Elven. He happily flashes out his teeth to serve his master. Vari is renamed to Varus and promises that he will serve him as much as his old age would allow. Meanwhile, Rai is renamed to Riena, and she promises that she will offer her master everything. After they have finished eating, they all go underground. Heel is keen to get back to mining at any cost. Out of the blue, Heel retrieves Shine Stone from his inventory, whose light never fades. Both Al and Vari are startled to see that little magic trick, since the goblins didn't have the night vision, so he made them a shining stone torch. Vari notices in surprise that the cave is dazzling in some places. Rai finds everything so fascinating. However, Heel explains that those brilliant places are safe to hit during mining. Heel then gives them a little demonstration and strikes at one of the shining spots. With one blow, the whole wall begins to collapse, and it's raining rocks everywhere. To the goblins' amazement, a great depression forms in front of them. Heel mentions that he didn't start out like this, but he has an idea that the goblins will be able to smash the wall like this if they get used to it. But the stones will not be collected automatically, so Heel orders Shell to give instructions to the other slimes, and then urges the goblin trio to start digging, as practice makes perfect. From that day onward, the cave became an example of a lively monster party, with goblins and slimes working side by side. Heel is in a desolate prison, miserably chained down along with a worn-down pup. He is being ruthlessly mocked by his sinister brothers, when one of them draws out his hand to turn the weaklings into ashes. Abruptly, Heel jolts up and looks around here and there in astonishment when the goblin trio comes along. Meanwhile, Heel checks out a vial tied around his neck through a string, and his mind returns to the current time. Looking at his haggard expression, Al assumes that his master must be exhausted. However, Heel assures him that with his Cave King crest, he can never tire out of mining. Suddenly, Rai brings forward a delicious thing to eat that immediately lights up Heel. Rai announces that they are having apple pie to everyone's delight. It has been 3 days since Heel met those goblins, and they have made a few things together: a bathroom, a reservoir, and a simple kitchen. Thanks to that little culinary wonder, Heel can now taste Riena's cooking. As he is about to take the first bite of the scrumptious pie, Riena looks at him with a thumping heart. Heel gulps it down and is mesmerized by its wonderful taste. Heel is greatly thankful to Riena, as because of her, the ingredients that he brought along with him, but had to be boiled or baked, turned into delicious food. Even Elvin's hardened face begins to plush down, as he never thought mining would be that fun. Varus also smiles, as he feels every minute of it counts, since they are doing that to increase the princess's life. The well-mannered Rai thanks all her friends deeply. Heel analyzes the situation and concludes that it is getting better, but still there are mountains of things to do. He realizes that he doesn't have the necessary resources as far as firewood and lumber go. He can count on what he brought in driftwood. Also, he cannot get any other food on the island except fish, and their clothes are giving a tattered appearance day by day. Now, Heel is not very hopeful, but still, if a ship comes by, he would buy supplies from them by trading his precious gems. So when his subjects watch him dig tirelessly, even they want to join him, but Heel insists they must take some rest. Heel notices that he has started to have concerns, like a real lord of the land. However, now his topmost priority is to find more and more turtle stones for Riena, and who knows, in the meantime, he might strike some new stones as well. With all the digging, he notices that a threshold has been formed as he enters the hollow part of the cave. He is surprised to find its wall being lined with some peculiar kind of stones. Those unique stones have an orange glow just like sunset, and seem quite different from shining stones. To his surprise, instead of a rocky cave floor, he finds a layer of dirt on that portion of the cave. He is in for a nasty shock when a humongous Inkai spider rapidly approaches him. Poor Heel begins to have terrible visions of being eaten alive by that terrifying monster, but still, he draws out his hand to use his powerful wind magic spell, and then the spider finally takes a sudden U-turn and runs away. Heel watches in amazement as the huge spider is surrounded by many of its scaled-down Xerox copies. It dawns on Heel that maybe the desperate arachnid is trying to save its children, and Heel has accidentally trespassed its den. Suddenly, the advisor informs him that the spider is tameable as well. Meanwhile, the spider has just risen from their slumber, and Elvin is about to join his master when he gets 10,000 volts of shock. Followed by Heel are none other than the gigantic cave spiders. Heel introduces the spider as Terran and his children. He bombshells them by mentioning that Terran has also joined their team. A fretful Varus cannot believe there would be such a huge cave spider, because normally in the continent, the spiders are of usually about Varus's size. Varus informs him that the cave spider's silk is as strong as iron, while they have deadly poison in their fangs. Varus tries to warn Heel about the ferocious nature of the cave spiders, and how they love devouring humans and other living beings. Varus even informs him about the dirt that he found in that cave, and reveals that the dirt is actually the cave spider's manure. When Heel mentions that a portion of the cave is full of it, Varus's face lights up in delight as he mentions that the dirt can be used to grow crops. Varus explains further that they can always grow nutritious and staple foods like mushrooms, as the spider silk mixed with the cave spider's dirt traps water inside it. However, the issue is where the crops can be farmed on this island of rocks. An exhilarated Heel wants to show his comrades something remarkable. He brings them close to a hollow cave and asks them to peek inside the tunnel. To everyone's stupor, the whole tunnel is lined with a well-developed staircase, along with a smooth pathway, just like present in some hi-fi, well-designed building. Heel explains that the pathway was too narrow for Terran, so he widened it and took the opportunity to try using the new features of his Crest Cave King. Earlier, the advisor had informed him that he had reached the necessary proficiency for Cave King, and had been promoted to rank 2. With that, Heel has been awarded new features like design, by using which he can shape his mining pathway according to his own needs, hence he carved a staircase. The next feature he acquired is Workshop, which processes and synthesizes some materials in one's inventory like sand, stone, and marble, so even Riena gets a beautiful, well-furnished kitchen. He is also awarded with the Area of Effect feature, through which Workshop and the ability to take things out of the inventory are available outside of the cave. For instance, Heel cannot use the design feature outside, but can make gravel with Workshop and use it to reclaim the land. The last added feature is night vision to the tamed monsters, which drives Elvin crazy to see so much dazzle inside a dark cave naturally. From the next day, the plan to remodel the whole island begins in full swing, along with a welcome party for Terran and his children. Soon, Elvin and Varus begin creating ice axes that are very much close to the original ones. Heel lauds their efforts, as creating an iron tool in a remote cave like this itself is a huge advancement. Meanwhile, Riena has formed her own knitting unit, with cave spiders frantically producing spider silk, while she forms soft towels, and is also about to knit a futon for Heel. Next, Heel has left Terran in charge of farming in its own dirt. To Heel's amazement, Terran also acquires another master talent, as he flamboyantly grabs hoes in all of his 6 legs, and begins digging furiously like a huge drill machine. Wondrously, a shoot pops up from the dirt, and in no time grows into a magnificent apple tree. Heel and the goblins marvel at the accelerated growth of the tree, thanks to the orange-colored stones they found in the cave called sunstones, that accelerate the growth of living beings. Understandably, this explains the humongous size of Terran. Now, Heel cannot find those sunstones anywhere else, so he has to treasure them. He decides to award the responsibility to the most sensible of all of them, and that is Riena. So from now onwards, Riena is in charge of the management of the sunstones and the planning of the plantation area, and the little lady affirms that she won't let her master down. Now, at first Heel was worried about Riena taking a lot of stress, but he knows that she can be trusted with this. Soon, he dashes down the dirt cave on a super scary and mega thrilling roller coaster ride via shell, and is satisfied to find the arachnids working at a satisfactory pace, digging the cave walls. So now Heel can easily concentrate on his mining. His goal is to get more turtle stones, as Riena should have gained 5 years of life, but according to her, she is still 15, so deserves to live more just like anybody else. Suddenly, deeply embedded in the rubble is a pearly white stone. Heel secures it instantly. Immediately, the advisors displays information in his head that the white stone is called the Dragon Orb, and it can bring a corpse back to life. Wild with ecstasy, Heel calls out to Terran and others to start digging at the same spot. However, to their disappointment, they are not able to find more dragon orbs. An exhausted Heel lays on a completely drained Terran and ponders that it's better to have a single dragon orb, since resurrecting oneself multiple times can be pretty intimidating. Still, he decides to keep the dragon orb within reach, since extracting it out from the inventory once he dies will be difficult. Out of the blue, he hears Elven calling out to him animatedly. He puts the orb back on the rubble, and immediately leaves the spot in a frenzy, with Shell bobbing along behind him. When he reaches the reef's fringe, Elven points out a faraway ship, floating wildly like a helium-filled balloon in the treacherous waters. The ship belongs to his comrades, and slowly approaching their end. Heel is relieved that finally, those living beings are alive. Even Riena wipes off the tears of gratitude, while Elven waves wildly to the ship, as his own daughter is aboard as well. Heel advises Elven to take his boat, since it is too dangerous for the ship to dock on the rocky cliff. With that, Heel also presents the trio with a bag full of precious jewels as a parting gift, which alarms them to the core. Heel explains that with the help of these, they can always build back their Beldan tribe anywhere they want. Heel naively assumes that since their friends are back, the goblins won't stay at a remote cave like Sheol Reef. He keeps on rambling about how they can start trading once they settle in a better place, as it will also benefit him, since he would also get his hands on goods. The 3 goblins hesitantly look at each other, and then Elven desperately begs him not to abandon them. He lets out such a deafening yell that actually pulls Heel off his feet and puts brakes on his never-ending prattle. Elven explains that he is going to fetch his comrades, so that even they can also pledge their loyalty to Master Heel. Elven enforces that they will never be grateful to him. Even Riena adds that now they are his subordinates. Heel doesn't want to be selfish, and reminds them that they may never get a second chance like this. Riena suggests Heel also come with them to the ship. A confused Heel looks behind at the barren uninhabited reef and recalls that this has always been his initial plan. But then he glances at his prized crest engraved on the back of his hand and begins to stutter. Riena notices his reluctance and announces that even she is not leaving either. Both Elven and Varys smile assuringly at Heel, and this makes him break into tears. While the emotional drama is going on, the unfortunate ship begins to jerk wildly on the turbulent waters, shaking its occupants roughly towards the wicked waves. Elven begins to panic, as most of his comrades don't know how to swim. The 3 goblins rush towards the boat to rescue the poor goblins, but a terrified Heel knows that they won't be able to make it in time, also that the boat can only hold a few people in time. A moment of his distressed past flashes in front of him, and without thinking, he makes a huge leap into the sea. While taking the huge leap, Heel assures himself that he can do it. He uses 8,879 of the magic stones, and then with all his might uses the magical power of the crest the Cave King to freeze the turbulent waters. The 3 goblins stare at him in bewilderment when Heel orders Elven to forget the boat and save his comrades by going through the ice. Poor Elven frantically slips and slides on the ice patches to save other goblins. Heel realizes that again he has created a blunder, because it is almost impossible to maintain one's balance on slippery ice. So he boards Terran, and with his bristly legs, he successfully manages to grip the icy surface. Meanwhile, Elven also boards the spider kids, despite his impartiality towards spiders, but now he has a sudden change of heart. Even Shell and other slimes also come to their rescue by turning themselves into lifeboats and scooping up the floating goblins, while Heel uses his magnanimous freezing power to halt the upcoming roaring waves. Under the great leadership of the Cave King Heel, the stranded goblins are all brought safely to the dry ground, and then Heel uses his healing magic power to mend their injuries. Riena is forever grateful to Heel, as because of him, all of her 205 subjects are hale and hearty. The big and burly Elven cries hysterically, like a long-lost child, during the emotional reunion with his daughter, but the cool teen chick is quite humiliated by that sudden crack-up. Riena, Heel, and Varys are amused to see such a colorful father-daughter reunion, and Varys mentions that Elevan's daughter's name is Fu. Riena informs Heal gratefully that all the sick people are doing much better thanks to his magnificent healing power. But the humble guy refuses to take all the credit alone, as he feels that Terran and the spiders, Shell, and the slimes, Riena, Elvin, and Varus all helped to save the Beldan tribe. He himself is deeply thankful to all for saving the helpless. Suddenly, Varus spots someone standing quietly behind Heal. Out of the blue, a dwarf-like, chubby man with long hair and bushy eyebrows stands like a misfit piece of a puzzle, with folded arms and well in his full birth suit. Even Heal is astonished at this sudden appearance of a comical character that popped up like an extra emoji in a story game. Even Varus confirms that the dwarf was never a part of the ship, while Heal has never seen that little clown in the reef before. Before Heal can question him, the dwarf turns away, and then jumps amidst the goblins to gobble down some roasted fish. Now, Heal's first priority is to get that emoji dressed decently. The next day, the cave walls are struck down, while all goblins are set to work to form more rooms in the cave for themselves. Heal tamed everyone in the Beldan tribe, despite the hassle of naming everyone in the tribe. Now, the circumstances are not ideal. Due to limited resources, Heal is just happy that the once deserted Sheol Reef has become a hot spot. But it wasn't all good news, since they only recovered a few resources from the shipwreck, so they all got busy increasing the production of daily necessities and tools. Riena brings a beverage for Heal, and lauds his efforts in building amazing rooms. Heal determines the grape flavor of the beverage by its color and smell, and gets excited. Riena implanted grapes by using a sunstone on a grape seed she found on the boat. Heal appreciates her, and never thought that he would drink fresh grape juice in this cave. Riena adds to Heal's knowledge that currently, the grape plant is a small plantation. However, in a few years, the cave will be occupied with fruits. Heal is left surprised, as Riena is putting efforts to build a future here, and appreciates her attempt, which seemed to upset Riena. Heal assures Riena that he is there for her to help, who then nods and promises him that she will do her best. Meanwhile, the spotlight shifts to the emoji that gained Heal and Riena's attention. One of the goblins gets annoyed and attempts to stop that emoji from staring, and wishes to get rid of that emoji. The emoji is called Mappa by the annoyed goblin. Heal realizes that it is the old naked man, and Riena clarifies that everyone calls the emoji Mappa. Meanwhile, Mappa keeps annoying the goblin by shaking his head at the tools he has created, and challenges the goblin that he can do his work with much improvement by asking him for his mallet. The goblin gets irritated and hands Mappa his mallet and accepts his challenge. As Mappa accepts the goblin's challenge, he begins his work, which seems to worry Heal and Riena, who believe that Mappa has previously done this job before. Mappa finished his job in a short amount of time, which surprised Heal, Riena, and the goblin who challenged Mappa. Heal and Riena were impressed, as the axe Mappa constructed is very fine looking and elegant, and they even remark that it is a work of art. Heal realizes that the ice axe that Mappa constructed is a tool. Many goblins accumulated to witness the hidden talent of Mappa and wonder whether this beautiful work of art can even break a rock. Heal decides to test Mappa's tool by having the hold of his usual tool in his right hand, and the hold of Mappa's tool in his left hand. When Heal uses the tool, the entire land is blown away. Heal's curiosity made him wonder how such an extraordinary tool is made with ordinary iron that is used to make normal tools, and admires Mappa's extraordinary skills. Suddenly, Heal realizes that something is missing. Seeing Heal in curiosity, Riena wonders what's wrong with Heal. Heal is trying to locate the round rock, which he completely forgot in all the confusion, the dragon orb. He then witnesses the shape of the hole, and seems puzzled. The accumulated people, meanwhile, guessed that there were bones here by determining the shape of the hole, and believe that the dragon orb brought Mappa back. Heal is grateful for the fact that they finally received another reliable and a relatively clownish comrade. The goblins express their gratitude to Mappa, as with the help of his tools, they are able to level the sea coast, and take the ship apart and start rebuilding it. They also begin making progress on big projects. The goblins also have been digging vigorously and even found new slime, so they tamed it and had them help with transportation. Everything is going flawlessly and they are progressing. However, they can find limited turtle stones. Riena herself is satisfied with the turtle stones, despite the fact that her lifespan has increased by only 10 years. However, Heal is positive that Riena wants to live a lot longer. As the goblins continue digging, Heal refuses in front of Shell that this is not what only Riena wants. As Heal continues pondering, he realizes that he wants Riena to stay with him for a longer period of time, as he wants to dig more and develop the island and live with Riena. As Heal digs a hole, he mysteriously finds a hole at the entrance of a cave. As he enters the cave, he realizes that there is a room beneath the island. He seems quite puzzled, as he thought that it was just an uninhabited island. Heal smells a story regarding this cave. He first decided to collect the materials that he found while digging the hole at the entrance. He first collected a heart stone, which can become the core of an artificial organism. The benefit of the heart stone is that it is now possible to create a doll, and when combining materials in the inventory, it will result in the creation of a doll. When reading about the advantages of the heart stone, Heal seems quite confused and realizes that the doll the piece of paper is referring to is a comrade. Heal decides to think about what he will do next with the stone. He moves his attention to the golden stone, which is also called the change stone, which allows a monster to evolve. Heal doesn't know what significance the stone holds and continues to read its description, which clarifies that it changes a monster into another species. The new monster inherits the other's age and personality, but the body is changed. When reading the description, that specifically describes that the body is changed. When using the change stone, now this literally terrifies Heal. Heal, however, realizes that he can put this stone into a better cause. As the roaring waves of the sea are being heard, Varus confirms that the stone makes the monsters evolve. Heal wonders more about this stone and questions Varus whether he has the extra knowledge to add. Varus adds that every goblin knows about the change stone, as it is mentioned in their legends, leaving Elven confused, as he did not know until now that the change stone is mentioned in their legends. Elven, out of curiosity, ponders whether Heal knows any of the species that resemble goblins. Heal senses that Elven is mentioning hobgoblin and leaf goblin. Elven adds to his knowledge that these species were originally regular goblins, and it is even said that the ones that wanted more power turned into hobgoblin, and the ones that wanted to live deep in the forest turned into leaf goblins, and were able to transfigure into one form to another by the usage of the change stone. Heal realizes that that's what evolving means. Heal wonders whether Elven is a hobgoblin. However, he refuses the rumors, and Varus assures Heal that Elven was born with his current body, and Riena begins to imagine a newborn baby having the current rugged face of Elven. Varus believes that the change stone only existed in legends and never in real life. Heal furthermore adds to their knowledge that according to the Cave King, the change stone evolves a being into a new body and renews its lifespan. This surprises the goblins and Riena. Heal offers the goblins to try the stone out. Varus refuses as he is quite attached to his body, and Elven refuses as well, as his body is too glamorous to be evolved. He actually pumps up his muscles to show his enthusiasm. Riena, however, wants to try it out, as she wants to help Heal in any way she can. However, her mindset is set to believe that she cannot use something so precious. Varus encourages her to try the stone out, and it is a great opportunity for her to use magic. Heal also assures Riena that she should use the stone, as it would help him a lot if she could use magic, and it will also increase her lifespan, as Heal wants her to live longer. This encourages Riena to try the stone out, and she finally decides to seek the opportunity. Hence it is decided. Heal hands Riena the stone, and while having a strong grip on the stone, Riena wishes to stay with Heal for a long period. As she wishes, the sand is sprayed across Heal and the goblins' faces, and a strong wind strokes against their faces. As the evolvement is done, everyone is left blank. Suddenly, Heal decides to break the silence and ponders whether she is the same Riena as she was 2 minutes ago. Riena turns out to have evolved into a long-haired, gorgeous elf, although curiosity has taken over her mind and wonders what happened to her. Heal yells out Mappa's name, who passes out with a bleeding nose after witnessing Riena's new appearance. As Heal gains consciousness, he for a second believes that he fell asleep. However, he finally remembers Riena's evolution. Riena, who is with him, assures that she is with him. Heal seems surprised by Riena's evolution and stares at her stupidly. He suddenly meets a jump scare as he finally realizes that Riena has evolved. Riena wants him to lie down as he collapses all of a sudden. Heal finally remembers him collapsing when Mappa threw up. Heal clarifies that he was tired. Riena is showered with Heal's questions, such as how long was he asleep, and how is Mappa's condition now. Riena assures him that it is still night, and Mappa is resting in the other corner of the room. Heal takes a glance and switches his attention to Riena. He wonders whether Riena is doing well, and is in disbelief that Riena looks like a human. Riena finally confesses to Heal that she did not like her old appearance, and narrates her childhood incident where she was cursed when she was young, and due to this, she fell sick and her growth stopped. Her sisters always laughed at Riena, and initially, Her parents tried to help her, however, they also started neglecting her. Hence, during the usage of the change stone, Riena wished to be beautiful. Riena apologizes to Heal for using the change stone for her personal use. Heal calls out her name. Initially, he is unable to express his opinions. However, he assures Riena that when he entered the island, he also changed. Hence, if Riena feels like she has a new life, that's fine too. Besides, the stone would be a waste if Riena evolved but didn't get the body she wanted. Riena thanks him and offers her life and name to Heal, and grabs his hand to appreciate her gratitude. Suddenly, Heal's attention switches to Mappa, who is finally awake, and Heal shrieks in panic. Meanwhile, the Beldan tribe was also shocked by Riena's evolution. Riena got dressed in the clothes she made from Terran and others. She then wonders about the opinions of the goblins. The accumulated goblins are surprised by seeing Riena's evolution. Although Varus and Elvin witnessed her evolution, many are still in disbelief and cannot process the change. However, when they witness Riena working hard, they soon become positive that it is the same old Princess Rai. Riena also devotes herself to studying magic and martial arts. Riena's ambition seems infinite. As Riena is digging and working hard, Heal gazes at her somewhat adoringly when suddenly interrupted by Varus, who smiles at him meaningfully. An abashed Heal clarifies that he wasn't staring at her. Varus adds to Heal's knowledge that Riena has a princess's crest farmer. Farmer makes crops plentiful, and it is a good choice to entrust the plantation to Riena. Heal is in disbelief that a goblin like Riena has a crest as in his kingdom. Only humans have the crest. Varus also shows Heal his crest, which is a sorcery king's crest that is considered to be incredible. However, it is useless for a goblin like Varus, who cannot use magic. However, thanks to this, he can continue his studies without wallowing in the crest's power. Heal tries suggesting something to Varus, who interrupts him by calling this a pointless conversation, and switches his attention to the plan he constructed, which is to reclaim land from the sea to expand the island. With more territory comes more crops. The plan also includes that they should create a bigger space where the kids can play. Varus asks Heal for more raw materials, who wants to try something, and wants Varus to leave everything up to him, as he already thought of the procedure. Heal believes he can use a workshop outside of the cave, and then combine stone and sand to create gravel and processed rocks. He then places the blocks in the planned location, impressing many goblins. Heal continues and uses water magic to remove the seawater and fill it with rock and gravel, and cover the surface with cave spider dirt. And when he runs out of dirt, he uses stone to make a public square. Heal warns everyone to be careful. However, the young goblins are not paying heed and are running. The goblins and Riena thank Heal, who is positive that they will grow great crops here. As Heal and Riena are in a conversation, Mappa is caught by an enormous bird, terrifying both Riena and Heal. To everyone's horror, the black soaring terror swallows Mappa in one go. Heal and the goblins shriek in panic as several killer birds approach the reef. Heal yells at everyone to get back into the cave. While running in sheer terror, a goblin child trips and falls down. Suddenly, Full spots him and frenetically tries to help him, when suddenly, a killer bird approaches the children to make an attack. A distraught Riena calls out wildly to Heal to help them, but before the bird can scoop up the kids, someone just slashes off its sinister head, splattering its blood everywhere. The act of bravery is committed by none other than the big and burly Evelyn, carrying a double-edged steel axe in each hand. Evelyn urges Full to get out of the scene as soon as possible. In no time, Evelyn manages to slash off many birds, as a stunned Heal watches him in awe, displaying the tremendous power of a general of the Beldan tribe. Heal also tries to help him, when suddenly Riena comes in front of him, shielding them from a treacherous big bird with her magical powers. The trio sets out to find the troublemaker Aves, who swallowed Mappa. For this reason, they decide to aim for the birds' heads. Varus calls out to them that everyone has gone under shelter and now they must come as well. Evelyn instructs them to guard the entrance while he takes the rear end. However, Heal has a better idea, as he remembers having Heartstone, which can become the core of an artificial organism. Soon, he flings a doll production material, a rock 300 times. Both Riena and Evelyn's mouths gape open as a large-sized doll golem is constructed. Heal commands the golem to protect the cave. In no time, Rocky Infinity begins to crush all the huge magpies into meat pies. Unexpectedly, a bird makes a sickening sound and then begins to gag as it dives towards the ground. Soon, it ejects a slithery and salivary Mappa, who rockets downwards and dives straight into the jelly-like tummy of Shell. Heal is greatly relieved, since now they don't have to worry about injuring Mappa. Elvin offers to gather all the birds in one place and then traps them by tying all the flappy wings with the help of a rope made up of spider silk. The rope is so strong that the menacing birds can't break free. Next, Heal orders Riena and Elvin to duck and then creates a powerful magical blizzard. Instantly all the killer birds are forced to leave the reef, to everyone's relief. Elvin lauds his master's efforts for handling the grave situation very well. Meanwhile, a worried Riena dashes to him, wondering about his well-being, but in her frenzy, she slips and falls quite humiliated. But then Heal tries to make her feel better by showing her his own bruised knee and mentioning that it was his first time as well fighting a monster. Both the lover birds snicker sheepishly. A delighted Varus adds that he is also very happy to see his master thriving. As both Heal and Riena hold hands, they don't realize that the whole lot of 20 goblins along with Mappa, Elvana, and Varus have gathered around them in sheer curiosity. It is when Heal smiles clandestinely and ponders that even someone like him can become a feudal lord. Soon, while walking hand in hand with Riena, Heal wonders whether they can eat a killer bird. When Riena affirms, he announces that they are having roasted meat that day. As the slain killer birds are cleaned and cooked into various dishes, they all enjoy a huge banquet. So when Heal digs into the monster meat that he has never tasted before, there is something about its smell and color, and then he realizes that the meat is matchless. Riena is delighted to see her master enjoy the food. Next, when he has some soup, he notices that the meat tastes different in the soup. Riena explains that a killer bird tastes completely different depending on which part one eats. For instance, wings and legs taste like chicken, breast tastes like beef, and shoulder tastes like pork. Heal is amazed to see such a unique combination of victuals in one animal. He realizes that although it's quite precarious if the birds attack again, but then they are also a very good source of food. Heal puts the golem doll on the stand watch, which Varus thinks is a great idea since the killer birds do not attack those who are bigger than them. Varus offers to put together a guard unit and also suggests building walls and watch towers, as this also serves to protect the fields from salt damage. Heal takes the responsibility of stone processing, while instructing Varus to take care of the planning. Suddenly, a racy teenager slides through, carelessly munching a drumstick and staring bizarrely at Heal. She then swipes here and there to get a good look at him. Unabashed, Heal recognizes her as Elvin's daughter, but the teen bean snaps at him to call her Full, a name given to her by Heal himself. A flabbergasted Heal is taken aback by her caustic attitude, but the girl astonishes him more when she wonders about his immense strength. Heal realizes that she is talking about his magical power and mentions that through mining he has dug many magic stones. Full gets all excited when she hears about stones and wonders whether she can dig them up as well. Riena explains that in order to use magic, goblins need to use a change stone to evolve and change their bodies. Full is adamant about getting evolved as well. However, Heal points out that the process isn't that simple, since he doesn't have any change stones. Suddenly, a wrathful Elvin appears from behind, knocks over Full's empty head, and tells her to stop bothering the boss. He even reprimands her for being rude, and then apologizes to Heal, as Full has a strong affinity towards strength. Heal chuckles as he knows that Full cannot help herself, having her father Elvin as a role model. Suddenly, Elvin becomes all animated on learning that her daughter holds him in such high esteem. However, Full is too proud to admit it. Heal allows Full to dig, and if she finds a change stone, she can always use it herself. Full becomes exhilarated as she knows to mine, and promises to be of help to Heal. Now, Elvin is a little skeptical about all that transformation, but Heal assures him that having more people who can use magic will be quite helpful. Meanwhile, Full asks Mappa for a mining hoe. Next, Heal uses around 800 magic stones on Riena to increase her magic power. Riena is honored and promises to improve. Next, Elvin brings to them a feast of meaty savories, as they both need to be stronger for their future endeavors. That day they finished up the land reclamation and got to eat tasty meat. Soon, Heal with his little kingdom has a Thanksgiving feast, and this day becomes the first Memorial Day in the Xial Reef. The next day, upon Riena's suggestion, a freezer to preserve large quantities of food is built. Poor Heal himself is on the verge of becoming one of the frozen stored meats, as he shudders with cold and in fact, has a sneeze or two as well. After the freezer door is closed, a still trembling Heal is relieved that now the meat won't spoil. Riena has gotten the idea from the time back in the continent, when food would be kept for over 6 months in frozen caves. While designing the freezer, Mappa wanted a bog steel door, but had apparently complaints about some facilities as well. But since he is really artistic, so he teaches Heal about how to shape a stone according to the design. The model of the freezer is renovated as well, and Riena decides to cast freeze magic occasionally to make sure the ice doesn't melt. Heel is glad that Riena is becoming more and more confident day by day. Thanks to Elvin and Varus, the outer defenses come along nicely as well. Since everything is being taken care of, Heel decides to concentrate on mining again. This time he has taken Full along with him as promised, and the latter hopes that nothing goes wrong this time. She has full confidence in Heel as she feels that the Cave King is amazing, as she knows the light spots optimize his mining and let him avoid cave-ins. However, she still feels that not having adequate knowledge about mining is being careless. An embarrassed Heel agrees with her completely. According to Full, they need ventilation, as the surrounding dust is not very good for their lungs. She warns him gravely that if gas accumulates inside a cave, one might get poisoned, or in the worst case scenario explode. Now, when she mentions explode, a distraught Heel has a vision of himself being an inflated doll, mercilessly popped by blowing in too much heat. She mentions a special device designed to bring in air from outside, and she is certain that Old Man Mappa will be easily able to create it. Heel lauds her knowledge about mines, as she has been learning about them since childhood. She then shows him her crest, which is a symbol of a miner's crest. The crest has some resemblance to that of Heel's, only the candle that depicts Heel being the Cave King is missing from Full's crest. Now, Heel has full confidence in her, and instructs her to inform him immediately if she notices something unusual. Heel notices that although Full is experienced, she lags in quantity and speed. However, she is efficient, and her intuition for digging up an ore is quite outstanding. To Heel, it seems as if she is his rival second to Terran. Suddenly, Full inquires Heel about having a father. Heel suddenly becomes emotional and sad, and he tells her that he did, and he is sure that he is a great man. Despite acquiring immense magical strength, Heel is still intimidated by his father and brothers, as his family has boundless power that even dwarfs cannot match. It is then Heel realizes that Full wants to be stronger than her father, and when questioned, she proudly declines to Heel's amusement. Suddenly, she finds a hollow cave and dashes towards it in excitement. Suddenly, they enter a vast stone room with a paved floor and many stone statues standing majestically in their respective slots. Full wonders whether Heel found a change stone in one of these stone rooms. A nervous Heel agrees, when suddenly he spots a stone statue thrusting out his hand towards Full. In a frenzy, he uses his magical shield to block that hand. The mighty hand emits such a blaring amount of radiation that is enough to set back a daring Full. He explains that the statues are golems. However, the one he made cannot use magic. Not only that, these special golems have swords. Soon, Heel is surrounded by 4 mighty golems. However, he gestures his arms in a cross in front of his face and then generates a powerful storm that rolls away all the statues, breaking them into pieces. A deadbeat Full apologizes to Heel for rushing into things. However, Heel assures her that even he was not expecting those golems to appear like this. Next, he commands Shell to signal everyone to suspend their mining activities. Suddenly, Full shows him a stone and excitedly wonders whether that is a change stone. To her disappointment, she has laid her hands on a sorcery stone that can store magic and can also be used to create dolls. Full jumps out of her skin when she suddenly finds Mappa standing right beside her. However, Mappa lifts a nearby sword and begins to perform the most exclusive sword dance Heel has ever seen. Still, he is unable to comprehend Mappa's actions. However, Full assumes that for some reason Mappa is very happy, as he is even whistling to a tune while swaying. Full wonders how long Mappa is going to stay without clothes, and then questions Heel whether all humans are like that. Heel is slightly abashed, but he has never seen Mappa so excited before. He tries to lift up a similar golem sword lying on the ground, but eerily he is unable to lift it. Heel frantically tries to collect it instead, but the advisor flashes a message that currently he cannot collect anything except minerals and mined items. Heel concludes that he cannot collect processed items, so he tries to break the sword by using his hoe. With repeated strikes, he finally manages to break it. He examines the raw material and finds out that the sword is made up of orichalcum, which is lighter and stronger than metal and has the ability to enchant magical effects. Still, Heel is unable to figure out that if it is lighter than metal, then how come he is unable to lift it. Suddenly his face twists in astonishment. Later, when he reaches the outer part of the reef, Elvin is trying his level best to lift Mappa's sword, but that seems next to impossible. Heel states that the sword is made up of 300 ingots of orichalcum. Full yells at her father to stop doing the impossible, But Elven the Great manages to lift up the sword with lots of force. Suddenly, Heal spots a warrior crest engraved on Elven's arm, and it dawns on him that this is the reason Elven is so strong. Unfortunately, the sword slips from his hand, dropping Elven flat on the ground. Heal instantly reaches Elven's side and tries to heal his head. He assures everyone that Elven is alright, as he hasn't received a bigger wound. Suddenly, something dashes towards Elven and clings to his abdomen with such force that he is compelled to sit up. To his astonishment, it was none other than Full, who keeps on crying, and she was really worried about her father. Elven pets her head and assures her that he will be more careful the next time. Meanwhile, Mappa carries the sword and flings it on the ground. The legendary race of dwarves likes to use rare minerals. They have incredible physical strength, mysterious techniques, and noble spirits. Mappa begins to use his tools to work on the sword, and then presents an ice axe to Heal made up of orichalcum. Later, Mappa makes all sorts of tools from orichalcum, and according to Heal, he is a real deal apart from staying naked all the time. Soon, Elven is trying to hit the rock ground with his axe, but for some reason, his axe doesn't work to that extent. But then there is an explosion, and both Full and Heal cry in unison, as the surrounding air feels a lot fresher and cleaner, thanks to the ventilation hole Fulkel suggested. Not only that, Engineer Mappa has created rotating blades that use tidal energy, so fresh air is being constantly sent to the reef. However, both kindred souls Heal and Full want to revert to mining. Heal is cautious though, as he doesn't want to end up digging in danger like last time, and wants to wait for some time. Full decides to visit the forge that day. However, Heal is in deep ponder. In order for everyone to mine safely, he decides to create new guard golems. He calculates that he will be requiring 14 artificial hearts and 10 magic stones. Meanwhile, Mappa can create equipment. Soon he begins to design a golem which is more complicated. But once when he is done, he hides his face in pride, as he wonders whether he got carried away while drawing. His face wears the same witty masked expression of that DC comic, as he plans that his Nobel Prize winner golem will have the defensive power of orichalcum equipment, a sword for close range, and a bow gun for long range. He goes on to devise the masterpiece, when with that same comical expression he turns to find Riena watching him secretly. He jumps out of the skin rather than out of that hideous phantom cover-up. A bashful Riena wonders whether he can spare some free time. Now, a flabbergasted Heal is not used to her putting up airs like that, so he curiously follows her. To his amazement, she brings him the most wonderful orchard he has ever seen, full of apples, grapes, lemon, and even palm trees. Still, Riena feels that the fruit is not enough for everyone, so she had an idea earlier. She leaps, touches a coconut tree, and chants break. Soon 2 coconuts drop from the top, while the superwoman slashes them in halves at the same time, landing on her feet, and then balancing the coconuts on her hands without spilling a single drop. Next, she produces 2 lemons, squeezes their juice out, and mixes with the coconut water. She proposes that they can always mix coconut juice and lemon with water. That way they can all enjoy it in moderation. Now, Heal is already stunned by the power display of martial arts by Wonder Woman. He is still in a stupor about the amazing powers she has acquired. Also, he loves the juice, which is refreshing, sweet, and has the right amount of acidity. Soon, he spots Elven carrying a weird kind of rigged and horned shell, known as Satan's shell, that Elven took down earlier back on the island. However, Elven warns everyone to be careful if they find something like this, since it repelled his axe as well. However, it becomes easier if one just forces it open. Soon Varus extracts a strange kind of liquid from the shell and pours it into a drum. That is a numbing liquid used by Stan's shell on its prey. Curiosity kills the cat as Mappa rushes and tastes the liquid. Next thing, he lies flat on the ground. Varus mentions that according to how it is processed, the thing can be a deadly poison, but even Varus can make jokes. He chortles and corrects himself that they can harvest Tyrian purple dye from it. Now, to protect his domain from killer birds, Satan's shells, ancient golems, and all sorts of underground and outside threats, Heal creates 14 new golems, just like having soldiers in a battalion. 2 of them have learned defensive magic, 2 have learned one of 4 attributes, and numbers 6 to 15 have magic stones. Suddenly, a goblin informs them that they have been invaded by more Satan shells that are rapidly approaching the island from the unfinished wall. Heal is terrified to see several shells ready to ambush them, but Varus assures him that they can be repelled by lightning. Now is the best time for Heal to test his new golems, so he requests Elven to leave the shells to him. Riena assures him to leave the matter to her since she knows lightning magic. Soon, he helps Riena onboard Golem number 1 as he supervises his battalion to move forward and slay the enemy.